Okay, hi. So this video today is about how to handle a website upgrade, redesign, or just moving over to a new platform, or basically just upgrading your website in general, however you're planning on doing that. And if you have a Google Ads campaign running at the same time, how to basically handle it so you don't have any problems or as little problems as you possibly can have with it. First to tell you here on this video that yes, you will have at least some problems with your Google Ads campaign no matter what upon upgrading your website. And so this video is here to explain how to minimize the potential problems, because certainly based upon what I've seen quite a few times, they can range from my business is completely destroyed now to I barely noticed anything at all. There's still something there. So I'll go over why you could have a lot more problems, and then how to do the checklist of small checklist of things that you basically can do to it's a little bit more work, but to minimize the downtime, the volatility in your results that you're going to have on your Google Ads campaign. And if you rely on that Google Ads campaign a lot for your business coming in, so it's for the most part well worth going through these steps. And even if it's not, basically, why throw away a few $1,000s in lost revenue, which you certainly can easily have, which is your typical response, by not doing some of these things on your account, or on your website and on your account before you go ahead and do the upgrade. So most of it's preventative, and I'm going to go through what those things are for you here. So anyway, I made a small checklist here, as usual I do on my videos, to explain some of the concepts behind why there might be potential problems on something like this, and then ultimately what you're going to be able to do to act on avoiding some of those things. But the first thing here is anytime that, as I mentioned before, that you are going to upgrade your website and you have a Google Ads campaign running, and you're going to have some volatility in your results, virtually no matter what. Google Ads runs off a algorithm that determines in their auctions what every advertiser is supposed to be charged for their clicks, whose ad gets shown up there on the top 4 positions, or top 7 if you want to say that. And ultimately, they are grading your website and your campaign against all the other. Sometimes it's 30 different advertisers, and they get cycled in and out of those top ad spots at any given time, which is basically your search impression share. And the algorithm likes, just like any machine learning algorithm, it determines what its decisions are, how its decisions are made are based upon data. And so anytime you start out a new campaign, things are very good on your campaign because you have 2 strikes against you. Google doesn't have data on your campaign. But the longer you run it, the more data and the history you build up with Google on the website that you're advertising, the campaigns that you're running, the better that your results will get, just because they know how to and know what to expect from your ad campaigns. So, and they side towards if a new person comes in, they'll only test their new site and campaign out slowly. Well, if you've been there for a while and you've had a campaign that's been shown to be more efficient and better for their users, you'll be up there up top much more cheaply, and for the most part much more easily to get and stay there. And so anytime you introduce a new element, whether that's the new ads or campaigns, I actually had mentioned here campaigns because ultimately a lot of this stuff applies to upgrading a whole account with whole new campaigns or brand new campaigns to replace the ones that you have. You're going to have volatility in your results until Google figures out what to do with those campaigns and ads and the website that you have, which is their quality score system. And their quality score system that determines where you're placed and how much you spend is based upon the ad click-through rate and the site experience that users have, and whether or not they bounce back to Google and click on another ad showing that there wasn't a proper match there, and you didn't do a good enough job as an advertiser to be there in the first place. So in any case, because every time that you make any change like this, you're updating your website, there's going to be a drawback, there's going to be volatility in your results. And ultimately, you're going to get hit in 2 ways. If what you change to is not actually better. You're going to have this volatility in the quality score system, and you're going to get charged more and show up less on the ads that you did have running. But then if you did it and basically your site was not better in terms of conversion rate, turning those users into customers at a higher rate than you had before, then you're going to get hit twice, and so it'll be twice as painful. And on top of that, it'll take you 90 days to figure that out, that your site doesn't really convert new site, because you're going to want to not believe your new site that you paid 10, 20, 30, 50 grand to upgrade didn't work. Then you're going to have to roll it back, so you lost your money there on the website upgrade. And then it's going to take 90 days once you put your website back up for Google to recognize the website's the same, because you're going to lose that data no matter what after that kind of time period of having it moved over. If you moved it back less than 2 weeks, usually not, but then you might be 6 months before you have your results back to where they were. If you can't take that kind of hit, well, then you got to do these things. And so with all that said, generally speaking, you should not make a major change to your website unless you've tested it first. It's very easy to run a second version of your website using a tool like Optimizely or something like that to test the user experience of the site before going live with it, which I highly recommend. And not only that, if you're upgrading the site to get a better conversion rate on your site, you can easily start out with little stuff most of the time. You don't need a radical redesign unless what you have is totally outdated or just it's totally bad. Then if you just know for sure, or you're experienced enough to know for sure what you're going to have is going to improve things, which it can be very deceiving. A site can look more attractive and still perform worse easily if you haven't done a lot of these tests before. Now you should test it, but you can also test smaller elements to the page. One of which is just cleaning up the code, removing plugins of your site that shouldn't be there that you don't need, removing tags that will slow down your DNS calls on your website, an extra Facebook tag that you don't need. All that stuff is going to slow down the page load speed time on the user's browser, which is directly correlated with conversion rate on your site. So before you do a $50,000 website upgrade, you should be doing that first anyway. And then testing and adding the smaller elements to the site, which for the most part, adding reviews, testimonials, improving the headline of the landing page you're taking people to, or the headline of your website where other traffic goes, making that tighter to, and matching it tighter to what the user is there for in the first place, and doing it on an individual user by user's level, and dialing it into based upon what traffic source they're coming from. That has such a big impact on your results as far as your website goes, your landing pages go. You should do that. And of course, you can improve the. You can add additional pictures and videos. So basically, the customers, if you're an e-commerce business, especially, they're going to want to see pictures, additional pictures for the product. You usually can't go wrong adding more, better pictures. Or video, more video. Try to tap out those opportunities that generally always add to your conversion rate first before you go ahead and redesign your site, because it's just a safer bet and cheaper too to do this stuff. It's cheaper and low risk to test the site using a website testing tool, and then also you can test these things and they're pretty much a sure bet. You can do those first, and it's also cheaper to implement those things. So you should usually do that stuff first anyway. In the case that you are going to upgrade your website anyway, basically you should, what I would also recommend it to, if you aren't sure your new site's going to perform better and you also don't want so much volatility in your results, take all your landing pages you were using before, even if they weren't quote-unquote landing pages, and they were just sub-pages of your site or product pages of your site, and put them on actual landing pages itself that are off the main website, and use a tool like Unbound. You can replicate the pages you were taking users to from your Google Ads campaign before, so that when you upgrade the site, you don't have to worry about your campaign ever being messed up. And if it needs to go back, you aren't getting hit in two different ways. You'll get hit on the other traffic that's coming in, not converting as well, and the site upgrade cost. But at least your main baby, where your campaign is delivering the needed revenue that your business runs on, that's not being affected. And then ultimately, of course, if you didn't know, you want to keep your URLs on your new site as close to the URLs as on your old site as you can. Especially with the ad campaign, it'll reduce your volatility. Sometimes you want to keep them exactly the same if you can, but if you can't, make them as similar as possible, and redirect the users from the old URL to the new URL way in advance of doing that upgrade, so you make sure that you have it, and make sure you don't forget your landing pages. A lot of times people forget that. And so beyond that, then if you are going to upgrade the website, in order to get as little downtime with your ad campaign, so your ad campaign can't do redirects. You actually have to update the URLs on each one of your ads to actually have a new URL to take the users to from your ad campaigns. So I would recommend using your AdWords Editor bulk upload tool. Get everything set up in AdWords Editor that will then match what your new site's going to look like in advance, so that when you overnight upgrade and switch on the new site, send everybody over to that, you can hit submit on your AdWords Editor tool, and then the whole campaign has a new version of the URL like it's supposed to, all at once within 5-10 minutes of download time, just like the rest of your site. It's a really good tip to be able to not have to struggle and go ahead and manually go in and change your URLs one at a time. And if you have hundreds of URLs, that might take a while, and you don't have time to test things real well. And so if you do test your website and you're going to use it, and you have to upgrade your landing pages to the new version of the site to have everything match, or you want to upgrade it, or you just decide that you want to just send everybody to this new version of your site anyway, just keep in mind your landing page, it'll take, again, 90 days basically to have it catch up to the old results. Even if it is better, and even if it has a higher conversion rate, the overall cost per sale, cost per transaction, that kind of stuff is going to be lower than what it will be 90 days in due to Google's quality score system. So therefore, that's why you want to do some of these other things first if you can, because you're going to have that drawback number no matter what. If the gains are too great and you have to upgrade your infrastructure or your site anyway, and just be aware that that's going to be an element. And just like your campaigns, if you update your make a major change to your campaigns due to the algorithm, you're going to expect the same thing with the campaigns. The quality score data that the quality score on your account is being read from is going to be reset upon a major change to your campaign, such as changing all the ad copy or creating a new campaign. In any case, one other little quick hack I also have for you for that, in case you have to do that, is to build any new campaigns that you want that's going to replace any old campaigns. Run those new campaigns side by side with your old campaigns for 90 days basically, and until the new campaigns show better stats than the old campaigns. Google will slowly test out the new campaigns, and then once they find they're better, if they're better, will replace and send all the traffic at your new campaign, so that basically you'll have very little volatility in your results, and or much better than just simply switching everything over immediately to a brand new campaign with no history behind it. But just thought I would add that in. And then the final thing I'll mention here on today's video is about the SEO. So let alone all the stuff having to do with the URLs and updating your campaigns to comply with a new site upgrade, don't forget about SEO. SEO wise, everything is on the new site that you can keep the same as the new site as you can keep it the same as the old site. The headings, the text, and all that, and especially the URLs should be kept the same, because if it's too different, Google's going to get confused and reset your data on the ranking side too. And that, if you built it up for years, that could totally crush your entire business. I've seen people wreck their whole business like that before. They had new URLs, they were too different, or the page itself was too different, the rankings went away, they couldn't take the hit, and then they went out of business. So you always want to check that out before doing a site upgrade. It's just another thing that I see a lot of people miss. I just wanted to bring that up, even though this is primarily about Google Ads and doing a site upgrade and how to handle the site upgrade and making sure your Google Ad campaigns have as little volatility and downward results initially as you can, even though there will be some, certainly it'll go backwards a little bit. We just wanted, before to go forwards, even with a better site, we want it to go backwards as little as possible, or even better, basically not go backwards at all, that we can tell or distinguish from what the upgrades we did. But if you do, work with AdWords Editor and make sure you put your pages on landing pages on a separate URL and have those not be affected, and upgrade all your URLs to point to the same page you had before. Virtually, you're at no risk of having your Google Ads campaign going backwards at any time. So that would be the way that I recommended it. But you do it however you want. Now at least you have your options to decide what's right for you. So anyway, hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions about upgrading your site, reach out in the comments. I'd be able to be happy to answer your question. And go ahead and also watch our other videos. I have lots of videos just like this. I've released a video once every day about inside information on how to do Google Ads and how, basically get the most bang for your buck out of them. So